Right now at noon, a drug bust in a Joplin parking lot. What police found and how a chase ended with multiple arrests.
And we've got this beautiful day, a couple of 3, 4, 5 clouds out there, but otherwise not bad. It is still windy though. Well, we'll look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, Joplin renews its fight to keep roads safe with the DWI arrests on the rise.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Elise Snowy. New at noon today, progress for Freeman Health System's hospital in southeast Kansas. Now this morning, Freeman broke ground for the new hospital. Members of the Pittsburgh City Commission joined representatives of Freeman as they marked a milestone in the new development. Now it will be a 50-bed, fully functioning hospital located near the intersection of East 600th Avenue in Crawford County along Highway 69. Now, the new hospital will create as many as 1,000 new jobs and is expected to be completed in 24 months. Now let's head over to Chris Warner for a look at the forecast.
Yeah, we've got these red flag warnings we're going to discuss here in just a moment, still active for some of us. You can see our camera shaking downtown Pittsburgh, and that is part of the reason why we have these red flag warnings. It's very windy and very dry across the region, but otherwise it looks beautiful. Same from the MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line. We've got just a few clouds here and there, but it is an absolutely gorgeous afternoon. But again, these red flag warnings run through 6 o'clock this evening. So a reminder, absolutely no burning in these areas, but it is breezy across the entire region. So no burning anywhere across the area. We started yesterday 10 degrees below normal, but made it 3 degrees above normal for our highs. And yesterday wasn't that bad. And take a look at these temperatures now. 68 in Joplin, 65 in Pittsburgh. Here's where remember I told you hit the early highs. Yates Center, you've hit them. Iola, Chanute, you've hit your highs. That boundary, the winds shifting, temperatures falling back a bit, a little cooler there, a little warmer down to the south into the 70s. All of us will eventually begin to cool. Again, it's not a plummet, but we'll start dropping through the 40s through 11 o'clock. Clouds will increase again, and then it'll get pretty darn chilly tonight. Ahead of some rain chances tomorrow. We'll go over all that with you here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. Murder charges have been filed for 2 individuals in connection to the death of a Neosho, Missouri man. Gatlin Pennington and Madison Sodecipher have been charged with second-degree murder in the death of Jesse Dunn, who was reported missing on November 29th, just days before his body was found. Neosho police determined Dunn was given fentanyl in exchange for a circuit machine, and both suspects knew the drugs might contain xylazine. Pennington is in custody at the Jasper County Jail on prior drug charges, while Stonecipher remains at large. Anyone with information on her whereabouts should contact local law enforcement. Authorities responded to reports of a shooting in the Emerson neighborhood in Joplin early yesterday morning. Joplin police have identified this man, Christian Davis, as the suspect in that shooting. Police responded to the incident at about 2:15. When they arrived, they found the victim, Wendell Stamps, suffering a single gunshot wound to the stomach. He was rushed to a local hospital for treatment. Davis has been charged with unlawful use of weapons and assault in the first degree. He is being held in the Joplin City Jail. And a Joplin dentist is charged with drug and weapon crimes. The suspect is Dr. John H. Joseph II. Authorities say 54-year-old Joseph had more than 12 grams of suspected fentanyl in his vehicle and that he was in possession of a gun that had been reported stolen in Joplin in 2016. Now, authorities say a law officer saw an SUV pull up next to a pickup truck in the parking lot of a Joplin business near 50th and South Main Wednesday and observed what they believed to be a hand-to-hand narcotics transaction. The police approached on foot and identified themselves. Now, they say Joseph was in the pickup with the drugs and gun. The SUV failed but was eventually stopped by police. Authorities arrested 2 people inside. There are 2 Joplin residents, 66-year-old Kenneth Heistand and 34-year-old Kayla Hayes. All 3 suspects are charged with trafficking drugs in the first degree. In addition, Joseph is charged with unlawful use of a weapon, and Heistand is charged with resisting or interfering with arrest. And scammers are getting clever, and 2 of the biggest frauds on the rise are crypto and romance scams. Now, these schemes are costing victims thousands of dollars. Experts warn that the losses are adding up fast, with many people losing their savings before realizing the truth.
High dollar amount that is bringing these scams, the investment scams, the romance scams, up to the top. With investment and cryptocurrency scams, 80% of people who get involved lose money, and the median loss is about $5,000. With romance scams, it's even higher at just over $6,000.
Now, we have more tips to avoid scams on our website. The city of Joplin has renewed its funding to fight against impaired driving. The funding is in an effort to get impaired drivers off the road. KOAM's Melissa Alexis has more.
It's an issue that affects hundreds of people in Joplin every year.
Anyone that's driving a vehicle impaired is not alert. They're not giving their full attention to that vehicle.
Joplin had 297 DWI arrests in 2023. In 2024, the number of DWI arrests jumped to 360. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says in 2021, about 29% of fatal crashes in Missouri involved either alcohol or drugs.
Every year we work fatal crashes with people who were struck by someone who was impaired.
To minimize these issues in Joplin, the city has recently renewed their funding to fight against impaired driving. The city says the Joplin Police Department's DWI unit consistently leads the state in DWI arrests when compared to other DWI units that are funded by the same grant.
It's important for the community that we get out and we remove those impaired drivers from our roadways to keep it safe for the motoring public.
The funding began 16 years ago when agencies across the state began to see a spike in impaired driving fatalities and collisions. The funding through the state of Missouri allows for 2 full-time DWI officers in Joplin. It also funds overtime for these officers.
St. Patrick's Day weekend's coming up, and so we'll have extra officers out at times that we know that more impaired drivers are on the street. If we didn't have that funding, obviously we wouldn't be able to put the man hours into that enforcement that we do. And so with that funding, we're able to utilize that to put more officers out, work more overtime.
The impact of driving while impaired is vast, putting passengers, the impaired driver, and other drivers at risk of severe injuries, fatalities, and psychological impacts.
When we start seeing people that are driving inattentive or in an impaired state, we start seeing injuries go up, collisions go up, people get hurt, people die.
Reporting in Joplin, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
The Missouri Highway Patrol says in 2024, more than 4,000 crashes in Missouri were alcohol or drug related. Well, coming up, uncertainty lingers despite a tariff pause on many goods from Mexico and Canada. And later, we're making chicken a la king in a hurry in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Well, President Trump announced yesterday that he's pausing 25% tariffs on U.S. imports from Mexico and Canada that are covered under a 2020 trade agreement just days after he imposed the tariffs. Natalie Brand reports.
Even with a tariff pause on many goods from Canada and Mexico, uncertainty still looms over industries from agriculture to autos. Kevin Hassett is the Trump administration's director of the National Economic Council.
What do you say to businesses who say they cannot plan with the current uncertainty, and then farmers worried about losing market share since, China's announced those retaliatory tariffs on soybeans, corn, other products?
I don't think that there's going to be a heck of a lot of uncertainty. I think that the fentanyl war we're going to make a huge amount of progress on, and that'll be resolved hopefully by April. And then on April 1st or April 2nd, we'll announce what our reciprocal tariffs are, and at that point, uncertainty will be mostly resolved.
The pause announced Thursday applies to products covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement negotiated during the first Trump administration. Imports from Mexico range from building supplies to meat, fruits, and vegetables. The White House says the pause applies to about 38% of goods from Canada. It does not apply to energy imports, which will be taxed at a lower rate of 10%, as well as potash, a key ingredient in fertilizer that U.S. farmers use. Ontario feeds electricity to Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he's slapping a 25% tariff on that power starting Monday in response to President Trump's actions.
So that's the last thing I want to do. It's the last thing. But he has to understand that he can't attack our country economically and expect us to roll over.
China is also promising to fight to the end in a trade war. The foreign minister vowed to resolutely counter U.S. tariffs, but Beijing also signaled it's open to talks. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
And still to come on KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If you've got 15 minutes, you can have a great dinner on the table. Really?
And we've got some cooler temperatures on the way and some rain chances. We'll look at all that when the KOAM. Welcome back to the KOAM News at noon on a very warm, very windy, but otherwise beautiful day here in the 4 states. Great way to wrap up what's been a somewhat wild week so far. And this day, again, the winds make it a little crazier, but not nearly as wild as we saw at the start of this week. Take a look at our camera, though. Downtown Pittsburgh, it's back like it was a couple of days ago, like there's an earthquake happening, but it is not an earthquake. It is very gusty winds, and we could spend half the show counting all the clouds out there, but it's safe to say there aren't many. It looks absolutely wonderful, and the temperatures match that. So we're already into the upper 60s, low 70s. Now, again, some of you in our northwestern counties already starting to cool down. You're not going to plummet, okay? You don't need to worry about it dropping to 30 in the next hour or so, but it's going to start to cool down, and all of us will cool down eventually. We have red flag warnings again through 6 o'clock this evening, so a reminder, no burning if you're in the red flag warning, and it is strongly discouraged outside of that because it is windy across the entire area, and it will remain that way through at least tomorrow. So here's what we've got by 2, and again, you already see these temperatures beginning to drop because we have that low pressure system that this morning was centered around Hayes. It's tracking along I-70 because for some reason the last few low pressure systems we've seen, it seems, have been just traveling I-70. I don't know if they enjoy the toll roads or what the situation is, but that's the route they've been taking. We have the warmer temperatures down to the south, and then the northwest winds that are coming around on the backside of this, and then I'll start to bring clouds in as well, starting to go partly cloudy later this evening. As you see, all of our temperatures begin to drop and our winds begin to shift out of the northeast. Still breezy tonight. We'll go mostly cloudy overnight, and then throughout the day tomorrow we'll have opportunities for some showers, mainly in our southern counties, but even then they're not fantastic chances, but some stray drizzle, a stray shower or two outside of this zone will be possible. But again, you see here by Saturday evening, the better chances for some kind of rainfall will be in our far southern counties as we go through tomorrow. Then we get into Sunday. Skies will begin to clear Saturday into Sunday. That does allow us to get a little colder in some spots because clouds work as a blanket, keep warmer air in. There won't be any. Now, an interesting thing about Sunday is by noon, take a look, we're still pretty darn chilly, well below normal. We're in the low 40s. We're actually still going to make the upper 50s and low 60s. It just won't happen until much later, almost more like a summertime pattern, because during the summer we typically hit our highs around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's almost like what Sunday is going to be like. It'll warm up into the afternoon hours, and it'll get a little cooler, but not by much. So you look at where we are Monday at midnight, and that's another round of very nice temperatures. So again, upper 60s, low 70s, and again, so our northwestern counties, you've already hit your highs. You're going to start falling back slowly, and we'll all eventually have the northwest winds gusting upwards of 40 miles an hour. Those winds ease up, northeast gusting to 30, mostly cloudy tonight, back into the mid-30s, and as we head into tomorrow, cooler, upper 40s, low 50s, and still northeast winds gusting 20 to 25 miles an hour, so still breezy, but not as breezy. Then when we spring forward, our temperatures, again, do the same late in the day, though, into the upper 50s, low 60s. But look at what it sets the stage for heading into next week. Those temperatures look absolutely perfect. Upper 60s, low 70s. If it could be like that year-round, I certainly wouldn't complain. But it won't be like that year-round. So get out there, enjoy it. Maybe some showers or storms Wednesday, Friday. And then next Sunday, keeping an eye on another wave. Doesn't look like it's got any precipitation with it at this point, but it is going to bring in more wind and some cold air again. So we're not quite to spring yet, so we're transitioning right now.
All righty. Chris, thanks. Well, yesterday's focus for severe weather prepared week was hail and wind. Now, just the other night, Southwest Missouri got hit with strong winds and is now cleaning up tree damage. Now, if you know strong winds or large hail is possible, take extra measures to protect your items.
Any of those things that could be damaged, try and protect them, bring them inside the garage or inside the house, whatever you can do. Also, we always recommend to hire professionals for certain things. If you don't know what kind of condition your roof is in, have that checked out.
If you're not sure the damage is worth an insurance claim, take lots of photos just in case and don't wait to file. The longer it's delayed, the harder it becomes to prove the damage was caused by the wind or hailstorm. And stick around, we're making chicken a la king in a hurry in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Howard's making chicken a la king in a hurry in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
It's always interesting when we find out how a recipe gets its name. For example, when it comes to today's recipe, chicken a la king, it was said to have been created back in the late 1890s at the Brighton Beach Hotel in Brooklyn, New York. You see, Chef George created it for the hotel's owner, E. Clark King II. And legend has it that he liked it so much, he put it on the menu the next day. So here's a shortcut version you'll love. We start by sauteing some mushrooms in a bit of butter. Once they're tender, we stir in a can of cream of chicken soup, along with a bit of milk and a touch of salt and pepper. Once it begins to simmer, we toss in some peas, a bit of diced pimentos that we've drained really well, and of course, lots of chunked up cooked chicken. And to make this even more weeknight friendly, how about using pre-cooked refrigerated or frozen chicken? It sure is a whole lot easier. After it simmers, it's ready to serve over anything from buttered noodles to hot out of the oven biscuits. This is one of those dishes that is so simple, yet so comforting, it's hard to resist. If you'd like our recipe for what we call chicken a la king in a hurry, it's online now, and let me tell you, it's fit for a king. E. Clark King II, that is. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we rediscovered a classic dish that'll have you saying, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe on KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the 4-state market prices.
All right, warm and breezy today. Again, no outdoor burning, please. It'll be windy tonight, windy tomorrow, cooler into the low 50s. Spring forward on Sunday. It'll be a little warmer later in the day, and then most of next week, aside from a few shower and storm chances, looks fantastic.
Sure does. Well, coming up tonight at 5, it's that time of year again when the clocks spring ahead and we will lose an hour of sleep. We'll take a look at the health concerns of daylight saving time. Plus, we'll have some tips to help you stay up to date with your smoke detectors, and Liberty Utilities customers bring their concerns and bills to a town hall in Joplin. You can join us for those stories and more on KOAM News at 5. And that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us on KOAM News at noon. Have a great rest of your day.